Hello, how's everyone doing? And I'm back again reading out of the book of Expert Secrets. And tonight we're going to be reading Secret Power number 16, Trial Closes. And before I begin to read Secret Power number 16, Trial Closes, my question to you is, have you learned anything so far in this book out of Expert Secrets is going to help you grow your business and become successful online? Number two question is, have you found your why? Why are you here? Number three, what is your purpose? What is your purpose for being online marketer, affiliate marketing, network marketing, online entrepreneur? And the fourth reason is, what are your goals? You have to set goals in order to succeed and accomplish your vision towards your dreams. And I myself have set some goals to accomplish to make me move forward and help me grow my business online. And so far, I've learned a lot out of the book of Expert Secrets. And I'm going to continue to read out of the book of Expert Secrets where it says trial closes. Let me ask you a question. Money is good, information alone. Us versus them, only excuses. Disposable income, money, or excuses. The hand-hold, reluctant hero. Money replenishes itself. And my mentor, Misha Wilson, always said, money always replenishes itself. Your two choices. Say goodbye if you only get. Break old habits. There are two choices, now and later. Close. I used to use two types of closes in my presentations. This is what Russell is talking about. He's using two types of presentations, two types of closes in his presentation. The first type, trial closes, I use almost every 60 seconds or less. And speaking of 60 seconds, in one of the modules in the back office of the Super Affiliate Network, Misha, he talks about using the 60-second hook when you're doing your webinar. The other I use throughout the stack. You'll want to use both kinds in your presentation as well. Let's take a look at each of them and how they work. Trial closes. Years ago, I had heard rumors of a guy nicknamed the Pied Piper of real estate. His real name is Ted Thomas, and he is the real estate speaker famous for being so good at selling from the stage that he would have hundreds of people line up behind him waving their credit cards in hand and walk with him to back of the room to buy his program. One day, I had a chance to witness this in person, and it was one of the coolest things I ever seen. A few years ago, I was speaking at an event, noticed that Ted was in the audience. I was so nervous. One of the best closers in the world was about to watch me try to close this room. I did my best to ignore the butterflies in my stomach and delivered a pretty presentation. While I did get a lot of sign-ups, I didn't get a huge table rush. And that's good that Russell got a lot of sign-ups. But in other words, he didn't get a huge table rush. After my presentation, Ted introduced himself and invited me to lunch. As we ate, we started asking me casual questions. After a few minutes, he started to grin. I asked him why he was smiling. He laughed and said, "What, your head doing right now? What's your head doing right now? Excuse me. I realized I was not nodding my head up and down and had been since the moment we started talking. He said, what I've been doing is a little technique I call trial closes. I've been asking you dozens of little yeses or no questions where the only answers is yes. You instantly started nodding and you didn't stop until I pointed it out just now. In other words, Ted was noticing Russell nodding his head, and he didn't realize he was nodding his head until Ted brought it to his attention. And that's what we want to be able to do when we have our presentation. We want to be able to bring our audience attention to us. He then went on to explain that the reason I didn't get a table rush was because the first time I asked the audience to say yes was when I was asking for their money. When you watch me speak, you'll notice that all the heads in the audience are nodding the entire time. I am constantly asking simple questions to get people to say yes over and over again. So when I asked them to give me money at the end, they've already told me yes hundreds of times before that. I thought that was pretty cool. But to completely be honest, I thought he was oversimplifying his skills. I didn't think his trial closes could possibly have that big of an impact on sales. But I decided to test it out. So Ted, he decided to test it out. At that time, I had an automated webinar that had been running profitably for 5 or 6 months. I listened to the recording and I found few dozens places where I could add in trial closes. I recorded just the trial closes and inserted them into the audio file. I didn't expect much, but what happened was amazing. The webinar went from making $9.95 per registration to $16.50 per registration just by me adding the trial closes. And that is so awesome. And that's what we want to be able to do at the end of our presentation and webinar. We want to be able to profit from our webinar. From that day forward, I was sold. I wrote out simple trial closes on a note card and put them around my desk. As I worked through my various presentations, every time I see a card, I use that trial close. Here are some examples of trial closes that I've used dozens of times in each of my presentations. You can write these down if you would like. Number 1, are you ready to get started? Number 2, are you all getting this? Number 3, is this making sense? Number 4, can you imagine if that happened to you? Number 5, who here wants a free copy of? And you would put a free copy of whatever you're giving away in your webinar. It could be an ebook or a free video, for an example. Number 6, would you like to be our next case study? Number 7, you heard them talk about this before, right? Number 8, isn't that cool? Number 9, isn't that exciting? Number 10, am I right? Number 11, can you see yourself doing, and you would fill in the blank, can you see yourself doing this? And number 12, I'm sure you've noticed this too, right? And what we want to be able to do in all of those 12 steps, we want to be able to do this in our webinar. We want to be able to get started. And I'm going to recap on these 12 steps that we should take. Are you ready to get started? Number 1. Number 2, Are you all getting this? Number 3, is this making sense? Number 4, can you imagine if that happened to you? Number 5, who here wants a free copy of my, I would say, solo ad success formula? Number 6, would you like to be our next case study? Number 7, you heard them talk about this before, right? Number 8, isn't that cool? Number 9, isn't that exciting? Number 10, am I right? Number 11, can you see yourself doing this? And number 12, I'm sure you noticed this too, right? So we want to be able to do all 12 of those steps in our presentation. I could go on and on. It becomes ingrained in how I write and speak. You've seen me using trial closes throughout this book, haven't you? See what I did there? Wow, I did it again, didn't I? Get used to using lots of little statements that get your audience to think or say yes over and over again. And that's what we want to be able to do, get our audience to say yes over and over again to what we have to offer in our presentation. The more you can get them to say yes, the more likely they will accept the infinities you shared with them and the offer presented. Trial closes are a huge part of telling effective stories. And that's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to tell stories, and we want to be able to close at the end of our presentation. And I hope you all got some value and education tonight out of tonight's lesson on the steps of going about doing a presentation and a webinar. And next we're going to be talking about the 16 closes. And here's a picture of the 12 steps that you want to be taking when you do a webinar or presentation. And you might want to go over these and study them if you can see them. But you can write them down. And going through the process, you want to remember to go through these steps. And we'll be going into the 16 closes in the next video. And if you got some content and value on tonight, don't forget to give me some likes, shares, and comments. And don't forget to click the link down below to subscribe to my channel as I continue to read the book of expert secrets and moving forward.